Glad you are with us tonight. Tonight is what, Dolly? What's tonight? Tonight is July 8th, Wednesday night, July 8th, 2026. That's right. You doing all right? Dolly's good. Dolly's in the house. She's doing good. Yep. We have a big night tonight. Remember Todd Bensman, my buddy Todd Bensman? He's back tonight. Todd Bensman, he is giving us an interview tonight after having been the assistant to Tom Holman, the border czar. Let's see what he has to say about his working inside the government for over a year, about exactly a year. Let's get into that tonight with Todd Bensman. It's great to have Todd back. We're also going to be joined by Annie Cyrus and Shahram Hadian. President Trump made a lot of waves today before he left Turkey. He was there at the NATO meeting, and he was talking about Erdogan again, how much he loves him. And, you know, if it wasn't for him, President Trump, Israel would not exist. Iran would have taken them out. But he's very upset with Iran. He says they are scum. He's done with them. And he also was chiding Bibi, saying he was a little too rough on Erdogan. So we'll get into all that. Let's see what Shahram, he was born in Iran, and Annie, she was born in Iran. Let's see what they think about what's going on there. Let's also talk with Patrick Wood. Have you seen this story? 100 support man charged with destroying flock license plate readers. And then let's talk a little bit about another story I saw. Hamas chooses half technocrats in new Gaza governing body. A lot to get to tonight. Tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social. Let everybody know we are on, we're here, and we're going to cover things you're probably not going to hear anywhere else. And certainly from the worldview perspective and expertise of our guests, you're probably not going to hear from any other network. All right. Well, we launched yesterday the Christian Worldview Leadership Training Program, and we already have several people signed up to become biblical worldview teachers and instructors. And of course, we'd love to sign you up. We are in America in great need of people that know how to rightly divide the word of truth, to teach a biblical worldview, to understand Bible prophecy. And so you can get started, folks, just as little as $99 a month for our 2-year program. You can pay it all up front, save about $400, or was it $300? So come on, folks. We need you to join the several folks that signed up in the first 24 hours. Now, remember, this is a online 2-year training program by instructors that include myself, Henry Morris III, David Noble, Josh McDowell, Norm Geisler, Erwin Lutzer, John Ankerberg, Jimmy DeYoung, Usama Dakdok, Shahram, Jared Carlson, Jason Carlson, Ron Carlson, so many other people. We filmed it all broadcast quality over the years, and now we've put together a worksheet with each video, and you can do the worksheet while you watch the video and finish this course in about 2 years. Unless you want to really go fast, you can do that. And at the end of that 2 years, you get to download so many PowerPoint presentations, years, really. It'll be years worth of material that you can teach. So we're not just training you and equipping you, we're resourcing you. So folks, please come and become a biblical worldview trainer. Go through our biblical worldview, Christian worldview training program right now at worldviewtube.com/leadership, worldviewtube.com/leadership. There again is such a great need. So many people tell us, I can't find a good Bible teaching church. The closest one is, 200 miles away. Well, we need to have more people starting home churches, meeting in homes. That's what was done, by the way, for the first 200 years after the resurrection, was basically meeting in homes. And so we need to equip and train people, and this institute's going to do it. And so please consider joining now, worldviewtube.com/leadership. Maybe you could sponsor someone to go through the training. Maybe you know someone who has the gift and the ability to be a great teacher and they just need the training. Maybe you could sponsor them and put them through the program and then get them involved in ministry in your area, your community, your town, your city. Don't forget, of course, all the great ways to support us. Worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Let me go there. Worldviewtube.com/sponsors. There it is. Hey, guess what I started taking today? I told you I would. Melissa says I was going to, so I said, yes, ma'am. I started on melissaprotein.com today. And you know what, folks? I went the entire day until dinner. I didn't have anything to eat all day until dinner. And I wasn't hungry all day because I took all these protein tablets. So it's 100% plant-based, 0 calories. It's in your bloodstream within 23 minutes. That's why it's called Super Amino 23. And it will help with my muscle mass and losing weight. So there you go, folks. Day one, I'm off to the races. Melissa's now been doing it for 4 months. You heard the results last night if you watched the full program last night. Of course, Swish for Life is that Numi full of glutathione to detox your cells. And some studies show it may remove mercury from your brain, helping prevent Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. I was just checking to see if Dolly's under the desk. You're still there. All right. Let's see. What else do we got here? Worldview Talk. That's your satellite phones, your solar generators, your bulletproof backpacks, your satellite phones, if I didn't say that already. So there you go. Let's see. Oh, the Gatatana. I take that every day. I have a scoop of that in water every night for dinner, with my dinner. Dolly gets half a scoop on her food every day. You know how powerful this is. The man who developed it, it came because he was growing the plankton for his crayfish and whatnot. Got a terminal diagnosis, started eating it, and 11 biopsies came back benign. The terminal diagnosis. He lived another 10 years. Not making claims. I'm just telling you about this powerful phytoplankton. Again, there's the human version and the pet version, all available at worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Worldviewwater.net. I have a water filter on my kitchen sink and on my shower. You can check that out there. And of course, don't forget about Bella Grace. I take the elixir each and every day, loaded with collagen. The peptides cut short so your body can absorb it. And then it's got the cat's claw. That's the anti-inflammatory. And then the astaxanthin that crosses the brain-blood barrier to take on the free radicals. So these are all products we use. And now I can officially say I am now using Melissa Protein, melissaprotein.com. I haven't had a thing to eat all day until dinner, and I wasn't hungry. So we'll see how this goes. Day one, and I'm already very, very impressed. Okay, so there you go. Check it all out. Worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Tweet, text, email, Facebook, get our True Social. Let everybody know we're about to have Todd Bensman on right now. All right, guys, we are very excited to have back with us our old friend, Todd Bensman. You know how many years we've been interviewing Todd and how often we would interview Todd? And he came to our national conference here in the studio that we held. I think it was on election night or whatever night it was. So he's been in studio. And he was at our conference in the Ozarks. And we just were so used to having Todd around. And then he went into the government to work with the Borders Czar, Tom Homan. And he wasn't allowed to do interviews. That's sometimes how it works. Now, we would text with each other, stayed in contact with each other. But I have to tell you, we have really missed Todd Bensman. I hope you have as well. And we're so glad to have him back. He has served our country, for which we thank him. And he's back out. He's got a new job, a new position. And he joins us tonight for the first time in over a year. Todd, we're very happy to have you back. Great to see you. You're one of our favorite guests. Our audience has missed you. I've missed you because you're also a good friend. Todd, congratulations, a year in and now a new job. Before we get to the new job, tell me, what was it like? Tell our audience what you were doing for that year and what did you learn?
First of all, great to be back. Thank you for having me, and thanks for that great intro there. Well, it was interesting to say the least. I joined the Trump administration, swore in June of 2025, and was the advisor to Borders Czar Tom Homan, as well as the director of ICE, the Office of ICE Director. And then also from there, and by the way, I was for those guys, I was doing a lot of the advising about the mass deportation program and a variety of other kinds of problems that enabled the mass migration crisis of 2021 to 2025 that I was on your show talking about so many times, from Mexico and Panama and everywhere, Colombia. The the appointment ended up with me over at the what's called the National Counterterrorism Center in McLean, Virginia, which is part of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, ODNI, Tulsi Gabbard's shop, doing the counter cartel campaigns, helping out on what we're doing in Latin America and Mexico regarding these horrendous criminal organizations that are been poisoning our population for all these years, trying to take them down. That's how I ended in June. On June 30th was my last day. About 13 months. It was a very amicable parting. I'm not mad. Nobody's mad. It was all good, honorable discharge kind of thing. It's just that I was hired by the Heritage Foundation, which is a phenomenal, a very influential conservative think tank that produces a lot of policies that are read and adopted by the administration. So I kind of look at this as doing the same kind of job that I was doing inside the administration, but just on the outside. So I just started. So, keep your eye on heritage.org. I've got a page over there, and I'll be writing up a storm as I finish all the administrivia that's required to start a new job.
Well, I bet your family's glad to have you back home, right?
Right. Yeah, that was the other thing. Mrs. Bensman was looking for me to get back as soon as possible. And as soon as I did, there was a very long honeydew list that is not by far over.
Leaky faucets, doors squeaking, all kinds of things need to be fixed while you were away, Todd.
Wasp nests.
Yes.
And,
So how do you feel about the accomplishments? I'm here in Memphis. Okay. Did you come to Memphis? Were you overseeing anything related to Memphis, outside of Memphis? Because I got to tell you, while I do have some complaints with the administration from time to time over praising the leader of Turkey and the leader of Syria and other things I talk about from time to time, I have to also say when I'm happy. And there are some things that the Trump administration has done that are very good. We're very thankful for. And a lot of it's in your wheelhouse. We're not seeing a lot of the illegal immigrant problems here that we were. We're not seeing the gangs that we were. A lot of the gangs that were in here creating problems and running drugs and who knows what else. They've cleaned it up. President Trump was very assistant on that. He got some pushback at first from some leaders, and I don't know what he said to them. They said, come on in. The governor was a little standoffish at first as well. Then he's like, I'm going to jump in with this. He's brought in the Tennessee Highway Patrol like crazy. In my 22 years of being back here, till the Trump administration, we rarely would see a Tennessee state trooper unless you went out on Interstate 40 headed to Nashville. Then you'd see them. But running around Shelby County, you rarely would ever see a Tennessee state trooper. Now they are everywhere. And Memphis has been cleaned up. I won't go into a lot of detail other than to say, if we go downtown to take in a play like we did Sound of Music not too long ago, you can't turn around and see a cop, National Guard. They're everywhere. Families are there. They're eating at restaurants on terraces and patios. President Trump has done a great service, and I venture to guess you may have had a hand to play in that with Tom Homan. Tell me about it.
Well, this is the first interview I've done since leaving the administration, so I do not have talking points, but I can certainly, not yet. I'm developing as I go here with you. But I would have to say that the signature achievement in probably any administration ever is that he closed that border. That border is effectively sealed, particularly in comparison to the way it was when I was going on your show for those 4 years down there with 250,000, 350,000 people a month crossing in and staying in the country for years. So that happened within about a day. That's all it took, was to just simply turn everybody around and deny the magical elixir of making an asylum claim, which was the whole cause of mass migration. People would just walk in and say, "I declare asylum," and like you're in forever. We stopped doing that. So that is a signature achievement. And I know, we took a lot of guff. We're still taking a lot of guff at ICE for not deporting as many as people wanted us to deport, or that we tried to deport. 3,000 a day was the initial requirement, and we never got there. We're still not there. But I would just point out that it takes a little while to build the infrastructure. We only got the big, beautiful bill money a year and 3 months into the administration. And we needed that money to reconstruct what the Biden administration tore down. I mean, the Biden people literally went on, like Sherman, on a march to the sea on our immigration detention infrastructure, and our personnel, and every possible thing that you need to do mass deportation was completely dismantled and had to be rebuilt from scratch. And I think a lot of people didn't recognize the extent of the destruction and what it would take. Well, now I can't even say we anymore. I'm so fresh, I'm saying we. The administration has gotten that built up, and the numbers are absolutely ramping up. Very recently, in a 5-day period, we arrested 10,000 illegal aliens on the interior and have them in detention and removal proceedings. And those numbers now are about 2,000 a day. To me, it would be nice that's about 750,000 a year. It would be ideal to have it at 3,000 plus a day. And I hope we get there. But I wouldn't underestimate the lag time. And a lot of people, on our side, on the Trump side, on the MAGA side, did complain and are still complaining you didn't do mass deportation. Well, these numbers are the highest we've ever had from the interior of the country. And that, to me, is still a signature achievement.
Mm. Did you have any role to play? Surely you were in meetings and briefings that you can talk about, just from the issue of the Mid-South, Memphis, because this is one of the first cities. This was the first city they sent the National Guard to, and they're still here, by the way. We just saw some the other day.
Yeah, I haven't figured out what I can say on that yet. I'm still developing my talking points, but I was a senior advisor. I had access to leadership. My job was to produce recommendations that I initiated myself or was asked to work on with other policy people. I would say that as a senior advisor, fully half of what you recommend goes right into a black hole. That's just natural. You never hear back on it, or it pops up again 6 months later, as a couple of mine have, and are still going. But about 20 to 30% of what I proposed actually went into effect. So I feel like without getting out into too many details about it, that I actually did do some material good on these things. And in the National Counterterrorism Center, which is the beating heart of our counter cartel initiative, we designated 9 Mexican cartels as foreign terrorist organizations at the very beginning of the administration. And it's the Counterterrorism Center and the intelligence community that is working on those initiatives. All that stuff is highly classified. We don't want to give the cartels, the bad guys, any sense of what we're doing. And I'm not ever going to do that. Let it be a surprise. Let it all be a surprise. But I can tell your audience that some great things are happening there. I'll just leave it at that.
I'm going to keep pushing you on this one. Were you shocked at the results we've gotten in Memphis? I mean, I can't speak to other cities because I don't live in those cities. But this was the first city that he sent the National Guard to, President Trump. this city has seen a remarkable difference. Our murder rate is down, remarkably down. I mean, I think we have gotten some records that back to 100 years ago, right, guys? Literally 100 years, right, Logan? The records have been just crazy on how much it has helped the Mid-South. Are you shocked at that? Were these the policies that you were fighting for? Were you using, did Memphis ever come up and say, look what we did in Memphis. We can do this here and here and here. Was Memphis a test case? Again, I'm asking you questions I don't know how much you can talk about, but I saw it firsthand as the first city the Guard went to. The Trump administration did a remarkable job helping us here in Memphis with a serious, serious problem. We're growing. The housing market here is still doing good. The home prices here are still, they're not coming down. They're holding steady, maybe even going a little up because we're growing. Many people are leaving Nashville. They're coming back to Memphis because Nashville is overbuilt, it's overcrowded, the infrastructure can't handle it. We have companies moving here to the Mid-South. We obviously have Elon here, and I don't know if that played a role in this because he's right there at the old Electrolux building. But was Memphis ever something that you guys continued to look at and say, see the success here in Memphis? Now let's go duplicate that.
I absolutely attribute the changes in cities like Memphis to our policies. We targeted the criminals first, as you know. We never said that we were ever only going to target criminals. They were, I think that the term was the worst first, not only just the worst or the worst of the worst. It was the worst first. And the administration has arrested and deported literally tens of thousands of hardened violent criminals from around the country. Horrible. I mean, I had access to the reporting on this, the internal reporting on who we were arresting. I just don't understand I don't understand the prevalence of child molestation, but it was absolutely prevalent. Molesters, I don't get it, but that's a thing. And in my mind, to remove those predators from the streets of our cities is probably a gift from God, almost, you can say. And rapists and thousands of murderers convicted or wanted for murder in their own countries, but also, having committed that in the United States and served their time, and then nobody ever called ICE to come get them. Sanctuary policies. This is what happened in Memphis is replicated across the country. Everywhere we've done this, the crime rates have gone down. Whether the criminals are just going underground or we've got them out of the country. I think we've moved out about 650,000 criminal, or not criminal aliens, but just aliens in general. And many tens of thousands of them were criminal aliens. So I definitely think that this, in addition to the border closure, remember I told you we were having 250,000 a month come over. We have about 30,000, and all of them being released, most of them being released into the country. We still have about 30,000 coming in, but guess what? We turned them all around. None of them get to stay. They all get turned around. And that is about 3% of what it was all during the Biden administration. And we have never had numbers that low in the history of keeping record. Those things. These are signature achievements, in my opinion. And I feel like, one thing I'll point out now is there is a program called 287G. I'm a huge advocate. I was in the administration. I will be out here of deputizing local police to conduct immigration arrests on their regular duties, during their regular duties. You go to a domestic violence call, the cops show up. If they're 287G deputized, they can pick up the immigrant and turn them over to ICE right away. And that is happening all over your state. That is happening, maybe not inside the blue cities so much, but definitely in all the red counties around it, and in constables' offices and that sort of thing. And I think that your local police have a lot to do with removing criminal aliens
Mm.
from the streets. So go thank them. Thank a cop if they're doing 287G. If they're not, you should be pressing that they get on 287G and deputize up.
Mm.
That's how we're going to get the big, big numbers.
You know, George W. Bush, his administration, would comment then that he didn't do enough telling the American people all the great things he was accomplishing. And I was very regularly talking about the fact that, President Bush needs a better PR person. He needs to walk out and maybe it was the way the Bush family is. I know George H. used to say that his mother used to tell him, George, nobody likes somebody that's braggadocious, So they were not supposedly a big family on bragging on their accomplishments. But the Trump administration, in my opinion, needs someone to do a better job at telling the American people the kind of things you're telling us tonight. Because, some people I know are very fractured and now in the MAGA movement and that we're not America first enough. And some are concerned that President Trump is spending too much time on foreign policy and not enough on domestic policy. Well, tonight you're telling us some amazing domestic policy success that I'm afraid, in my opinion, is getting lost in the noise of Iran and Syria and Lebanon and Israel and all of those things. And these are some amazing national security and domestic America first policies that should be being shouted from the rooftop. This is amazing what you're telling us tonight. And we got to go back to saying, while sometimes we get frustrated with the administration on some of the issues, we got to remember the good things they're doing. But you can't really brag on things you don't know. And now today we're hearing some things that make me go, yeah, I'm really thankful for the Trump administration. So let's balance the scale with our frustration sometimes on certain issues, because look at the good things that are happening. So I guess if anyone in the administration picks up on this interview tonight, you guys need to do a better job of putting guys like Todd Bensman out there and others to tell us what it is you're doing. That can really soften some of the criticism you might be getting from some of your own base, because tonight I'm feeling a lot better right now hearing what I'm hearing. This is making me very happy. Now, to that end, you mentioned the predators and the child molesters, and you and I talked a lot with people and with the whistleblowers like Tara Rodas and others inside HHS. And what were we saying at the time? How many children were missing, that these unaccompanied minors? Was it 300,000 or something, Todd, at the time?
Like 272,000, I think, that were we lost track of them. They didn't bother.
Okay. And so I'm hearing reports of finding, kids. Do you know what the number is that the Trump administration has found?
Yes. I want to say it's, I don't, I'm honestly, I'm not up to speed completely on those numbers, but it is, well over 150,000.
You found so you found 150,000 children.
Well, I'm not 100% on that number, but
it's over 100,000.
Yes.
Over 100,000 children found. See, now again, this is amazing news, Todd.
Tracking the children was another spearhead signature policy. That was a Tom Homan. That was a Kristi Noem. We wanted to do that going in. Trump campaigned on that. And we have tracked a tremendous number of them. The problem there was that the prior administration was just moving them through and into the country, into the hands of fraudulent, bogus guardians. Riven in a program that was just completely riven with fraud, and then never bothered to check back to see how they were doing, which I think was or even where they were. So that was a big task. And the question there is, are they being trafficked, labor trafficked, or sex trafficked? But just even to find out that they were not being sex trafficked or labor trafficked was a a tremendous public service, right? Just find out where they are, who they are. Now, I'll say that this should make you feel a little bit better that the vast majority of those were not being sex trafficked. There were some, though. There were some that were being sex trafficked. The vast majority were not being labor trafficked. What that turned out to be, is my understanding, is a lot of those children went to their fake guardian that signed up with DHS and was never vetted or checked in any way, really just as a lily pad to go to their real families, or their uncle or their friends or their old neighbors from the old home country, and that sort of thing, and get on with life, and then never registered the change with the government. And often the parents were illegal, so they weren't going to volunteer any information about that either. Nevertheless, to just know that they're okay is a paramount achievement. And definitely we're not finished. My 150,000 is probably way high. I'm going to double check that in case I get asked again.
Okay.
But it is a very significant number.
And when you say they were lily pad, are you saying that people would come, were some of the family members saying to someone, I can't go get them because I'm illegal, so you go get them, and the child would go with someone that maybe the child doesn't even know, but the parents got to know those people because they're here in the country now, and they'd send someone to go get their child, and that child would then go from the individual that picked them up to their real family. So it was just a way for the family to get their child without having to out themselves as being an illegal here. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's right. And there was a great report that came out from, I think it was DHS Office of Inspector General, not that long ago, 4 months ago or something, that really just laid out the extent of the fraud among the guardians. You'd have like one particular individual be signed on to accept, 500 kids, right? I mean, just complete rank fraud. Or the home address was a Wendy's restaurant or a car wash or something like that. That level of fraud that the Biden administration allowed to have happen is just unconscionable with it when it comes to children. And the Trump administration has pretty well corrected that. They are well on the way to fixing this. And we did find some that turned into labor trafficking cases and also sex trafficking cases as well.
In fact,
happened.
We just found a clip. This is from your old boss back in December of 2025, so not too long ago. Germane to the topic. Here we go.
Promises made, promises kept. And we're going to continue running down every lead of every child. And when we finish all those leads, we'll go back and do it all over again. As long as President Trump's in the Oval Office, we will never stop looking for these children. Now, I want to be clear. The 62,000 children were found. Some were perfectly safe with their families. They're just hiding out, didn't want to be deported, whatever. But many were in sex trafficking and forced labor. One's too many. So President Trump saved thousands of these children's lives and their futures. Secure border is saving thousands of lives every year. Under the last administration, over 4,000 aliens died making that journey. With a secure border, lives are being saved every day. Sex trafficking has plummeted. Fentanyl has plummeted. No inspected terrorists coming across borders plummeted. A secure border means stronger national security. But most importantly, it means saving lives, saving aliens' lives and saving Americans' lives.
Wow. The clip's longer, but we'll stop there because I have a few more questions for Todd. Todd, we were contacted, Logan, help me out here, by the fellas over there in Arkansas. Help me with their names again. The truckers, the Truckers Association over there. American Truckers, and what was the gentleman we interviewed quite a bit? Shannon Everett. We interviewed him quite a bit. We were the first large national outlet with radio stations, terrestrial stations, everything. We were the first TV network to pick him up and interview him. He's just over the border there in Arkansas, Little Rock, about 3 hours away. And he was specifically talking about all of the illegals driving trucks. They can't read English. They can't read road signs. They're killing people. Well, and they're taking jobs from Americans. Well, being that we're on 75 terrestrial Christian stations and many of them 50,000, 100,000 watt, our phone lines lit up that day with truckers, over-the-road truckers. We got such a huge response. We did the show again the next day and had more truckers calling in and telling us that they will go to a truck stop and they might be the only Caucasian American in the truck stop because of all the foreigners that were driving their trucks and they can't speak English, et cetera, et cetera. And the over-the-road drivers were just confirming everything that Shannon and that team was saying. That went viral. And then next thing you know, Fox News picks him up. And he told us on our broadcast, you guys were the first outlet to cover this and to use your voice and your social media platform to elevate it to the point it got picked up by Fox, and then we're off to the races. And then the Trump administration hears about it and steps in, I think Sean Duffy, and starts dealing with this. So I don't know if you knew that or not, but we've been really fighting on that issue, and I'm sure that was in your wheelhouse as well, right?
Very much. I was involved in that issue. I actually have gone out on operations with ICE, with Oklahoma State Police, who were 287G deputized. Remember, I told you 287G. By the way, thank you for bringing that to light, because that issue is another unconscionable, bloody wrong done to the American people. Whole families being slaughtered on our highways by people who can't read road signs or pass a proficiency test in any possible way or manner could they ever qualify as a truck driver, killing our people on the roads. Absolutely one of the worst wrongs. And I'll tell you that what the administration's response has been to that was to really bear down on it in a concerted, national, coordinated way. And I'm talking along interstate highways, between connecting states, coordinated among different police agencies with ICE right there. And I've been on those operations with ICE, pulling over truckers and arresting them for being illegally present, and then opening criminal investigations against the schools that were providing the certificates of training, et cetera. And beyond that, you haven't seen the full result of that yet. These cases take a little bit of time. Trust me, keep your eye on DOJ press releases, state government press releases. A lot of those people are going to jail.
Wow. Excellent news. All right, a few more minutes with you, Todd.
One other thing about that. When I was on operations, 2 days of operations with Oklahoma State Police and ICE, just not that long ago, the operations caused the truckers to broadcast over their radios and also on their signal chats, encrypted chats, that we've got roadblocks here, we've got roadblocks there, everybody divert, everybody move. And so there is a keen awareness of these out there. And one would hope that a lot of them are just giving it up because they're going to get caught sooner or later. Deterrence.
The white tents, these big, humongous white tents we were talking about that were, south of the border. The UN was dealing that and giving them cards and the UN cards and all that. Has that kind of thing stopped, number one? Number two, then we had tents in Texas. And we had the guys, Anthony Rubin and others, that put up drones. And a lot of the folks in the community didn't, and he was asking where these tents are, they didn't know where they are. And yet they'd be 2-3 miles away out in the middle of somewhere where the general public wasn't seeing them. But the Biden administration had set up these huge tents. And then they had other facilities that looked like they were ready for children and playground equipment in the yard. But they seemed to be completely empty. And you're like, what are they what are these for? They're not using them. They're letting all these people in. They're not using these tents and all this. Did we ever get to the bottom of any of those things?
Yeah, I can tell you what's going on. First of all, on the Mexican side and further south, uh, the UN and the NGOs are dead in the water. They're starved to death. They are doing nothing. There's nobody to service anymore. No more money to give to them, even if there were some. So the Darien Gap, I think I've been down there twice now, in Colombia and on the Panama side, has reverse migration. I've never in my life seen reverse migration as long in 20 years of covering the Darien Gap have I ever seen them going the other way. But that's been happening now for a year and a half of reverse migration through the Darien Gap. Actually, they're going around it on the sea. That's all fantastic news. That means that all those people from 150 different countries, including Muslim majority countries, are not on their way here, at least not through the Darien. Um, so on our side, we had soft-sided facilities when the Biden administration was processing hundreds of thousands and millions of people in through. They had to have facilities for that. Once the Trump administration took office, that obviously all stopped. It was like night and day. A light switch just flicked off, and so those came down. We took most of those down. Now there are still some soft-sided facilities because we still have traffic. You're never going to have no traffic at the border. But we've never had this low a number of traffic, and you still have to put them somewhere while you're expelling them. We're Title VIII expelling them out of the country, and you still have to, tag and bag them and get photos and, get their fingerprints and all that, and then deport them. So you still have to have some capacity down there for surges here and there. And so those shouldn't be mistaken for the type of soft-sided facilities that were operating under the Biden administration.
So those tents on our side that were sitting there empty, the Bidens were building out in the parts of Texas, and a lot of Texans didn't even know they were there in their community. What did those turn out to be?
Those were processing centers. They would come in off the border. We'd bring them in there for a day or two, give them their papers, get them fed, make sure they know where they're going, get them bus tickets and plane tickets into the interior of the country, and then release them to NGOs. You had to have a place to do high volume numbers. I mean, if they're coming in at 10 and 14,000 a day, you can't just put them out in the sun.
But you guys shut that down, right?
Yeah, there's no need for them. They're shut. Most of them are all shut down. I think we kept a couple just for what our purposes are now, which are not releasing them into the country. That's the important thing. We are not releasing them into the country, because the second you release any of them into the country, the rest will follow and rush your border, thinking that they're going to get released too.
We have so much we could talk to you about. One final question. There's a very important article at Wired dated today, July 8th. Dealt with it on the Worldview Report tonight on radio today. What happens if China hacks the U.S. water supply? I went to a secret war game to find out. This guy went there. He wrote about how the war game was hackers attacking 5,000 water utilities across the continental United States. Apparently, this was coming in, and it was about really the warning back in May of 2023 from the software known as Volt Typhoon. And the war game being run by high-level insurance executives was very scary to everybody in the room, because what do we do here? Do we respond to keep the military infrastructure up and running? Do we respond where we can save the most American lives? We've got hospitals that are closing. Their HVACs can't cool and keep up. They're having to evacuate the hospitals. We have people that can't make the drugs that we need for the American people that require water. We have a problem with insulin getting out like we need to get out. And all of this is being done as the exercise in the war game as America is dealing with Taiwan, perhaps in 2027 and dealing with Taiwan. How concerned are you now after, and as much as you can speak to, and the 100,000 Chinese CCP military-age males that we're hearing are in the country? Gordon Chang has continued to be a guest, continue to warn about these things. When you hear reports like this, what can you say? I know there's things you can't talk about, but what can you say when you see an article like this by Wired coming out today, July 8th, 2026, when we have the IRGC, we have Iran, which is Iran, China, and these groups warring against us? What is the battlefield like? Not only cyber-wise, but then the people that are here ready to go. Because, Gordon's saying the next World War III is going to be fought on our soil. Well, maybe they will be here physically to fight it. Maybe they won't. Some of them have to be here physically to fight it. They'll be fighting it cyberly by taking down our critical infrastructure. But apparently these guys are now sitting there with this software on our major utilities, just waiting.
Right. Well, the issue of China is, I'll just say, is definitely forefront of mind. All you have to do is look at the Northern Mariana Islands, CNMI, Saipan, and Guam, and look at what we're doing with military expansions out there. Billions of dollars, we're moving Marines in, we're redoing airstrips, we've got missile defense expanding out there. I mean, if and when something happens, we would probably have that as a launch point for naval, air, and ground forces. So I think that the military and intelligence establishment has indeed pivoted fully to face the Chinese threat against Taiwan, and in turn the United States, because we've guaranteed their security of the island. So the most I can really say about that is that we did have about 80 or 90,000 Chinese nationals cross the border. What I'll say about that is that I would have liked to have seen a lot more being done about that. I'll just leave it at that. But there are some things that are starting to happen, because listen, if you're a spy master in Beijing and all of this is happening, these pivots, these big geopolitical pivots are happening, why wouldn't you send your spies in over the border with all these tens of thousands of Chinese? Why wouldn't you? Of course you. And
we keep hearing about them coming in, that they're coming in on boats down in Florida, that they're being found here and found there. I mean, I've read reports in the last few weeks about these Chinese nationals that are being smuggled in and being caught. So they're continuing to do this. So they must be preparing for something.
Yes, they are still coming in. We are still deporting, expelling and deporting and detaining. And I would hope vetting them in an counterintelligence way, which I won't talk too much about, but the point is that, it's an ongoing effort by the population of China. I'm not saying all of them are spies or soldiers, but yes, some of them are.
And they're getting caught with pathogens they're smuggling back into our country to universities. Well,
there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot going on the counterintelligence side with that. Whole groups are working on this.
Well, it is so good to see you. It's so good to have you back. I hope you'll come back and be a regular guest. Thank you for giving us your first interview now that you're back in civilian life. Again,
getting the rust off.
Say that again?
I'm getting the rust off.
Because you weren't allowed to do interviews. So this is probably the first time you've done an interview in over a year, right?
Yeah, 13, 14 months.
Wow. Yeah. Well, you did a great job as always. It's just like riding a bicycle, right? But we want to have you back regularly. And again, I just have to say thank you for coming on to tell us all the great things you were involved in. Thank you for taking a year of your life to serve our country. Thank your family, your wife, and your children for letting our country utilize your expertise. The books are hanging on the wall back there. We've been interviewing him for 4+ years. So we knew that this was a guy that should go into the administration. We're so glad he did. And I would urge any of the Trump folks listening, we need more talking points to hear like what we heard tonight. Because again, we can have disagreements. We can have things we wish were done differently. We can get a little discouraged, maybe a little upset at things. That's the way politics runs. It's a rough game. But the Trump administration is doing a lot. They just need to tell us. And tonight we just heard an awful lot about what was going on that we weren't hearing. Some of it we were, some of we weren't. But man alive, you guys are doing a great job.
Let me just, if I got like a half a minute here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to axiomatically defend everything the Trump administration does, just most of it. But one of the things about that, because you mentioned it earlier, that the administration needs to tell the story better. I think the administration is telling the story pretty well. It's just that the media, the American media, the legacy media, doesn't want it and won't put it up. I'll give you a great example of that. A few months ago, President Trump held a press conference about something unrelated to immigration. But before he started, it was a long-running thing. You might remember this. He pulled up a book filled with the victims of illegal aliens, murder victims.
Mm-hmm.
Spent 30 minutes paging through in front of a crowded, packed press room, filled to the gills, and he just sat at a table and he just kind of went through one by one and give the name, and this one was murdered, and this one was raped and dismembered, and this one died this horrible way and was killed, etc. And none of that. I looked for the next day if any of that would be in the regular media, and it wasn't. If you have the president of the United States with a book of criminal aliens trying to get coverage and nobody will cover that, it's not the administration. It's not. It's another kind of problem.
Well, thank you for telling me that. I don't know that I know about that situation, that book. Logan, do you know about that?
Take a look.
Logan doesn't know about it either. So how did we miss that? But I'll tell you something.
They didn't put it out there.
Well, we are on the White House list. We get the list. We get a list, an email every day from the White House telling us different things. But of course, we didn't see that one. I don't remember seeing that one. But I'll tell you, if that is the case, again, that's why World YouTube is here. That's why we need to be here, because we need to tell the American people. We don't want the American people demoralized. Our enemies want us demoralized. Our enemies want us thinking that the Trump administration isn't doing good things, that they're not doing good things. And we need to be here to tell it. And if the mainstream media doesn't want to do it, we want to do it. We want to report some good news, not always bad news. So let me just say, anyone in the administration or that's come out of the administration that wants to come here and brag and tell the American people the great things they've done, we want to hear it, because frankly, the American people want to hear it, because we get a little tired sometimes of all the bad news we have to report, but we have to know about these things. And I don't think I knew about this book. Logan, let's go back and see if we can find the footage of the president doing that and see the next day or so we can play that and talk about that. But you have an opportunity to come on here anytime, and anyone in the administration, we are more than happy, as you know, to interview any of them and all of them.
Thank you so much for having me. Good to be back. I'll be around. You know it.
Oh, great. I'll be texting with you. Congratulations on your new job at the Heritage. And are you still running ToddBensman.com?
Yes, I have ToddBensman.com. I let my social media policy, my social media stuff just go to the weeds.
But you're going to get back to it?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you got a new book? Are you going to work on a new book?
I don't know yet. I'm thinking about it.
All right. Well, let us know as soon as you do. Great to see you.
All right. Take care.
Todd Bensman checking in, ToddBensman.com. We'll watch his Twitter feed to see if he gets active again on that. Great to have Todd back, isn't it? A lot of you asked about him while he was gone. We said we would tell you when you would email or text or whatever. He's in the administration. When he comes out and can talk, he'll be back. And there he is. Exclusive interview tonight. Thank you, Todd. And thank you guys. We'll be right back after this short break. Friends, this is Brandon House. For more than a year now, I've been teaching through the book of Revelation, and the response from you has been overwhelming. You've asked me again and again, when are you going to put this study in print? We want to mark it up. We want to share it with our families. Well, it's here. My brand new 2-volume commentary on the book of Revelation, verse by verse, chapter by chapter. This is not a watered down, allegorized replacement theology approach to Revelation. This is a literal, grammatical, historical study, the way the Lord intended his word to be read. And I connect the prophecy of Revelation to the headlines you're watching unfold right now, the rise of global government and the convergence of end-time events the Lord Jesus warned us about. Folks, we are living in serious days, and there has never been a more important time to understand what God has told us about what is coming. Get your 2-volume Revelation commentary today at worldviewstore.com. That's worldviewstore.com. All right, joining me now is Annie Cyrus and Sharam Hadian and a very squirmy Jerry. Jerry wants to get down and go to Logan. Okay, hold on a second. Hold on, Jerry. I got to show all the Islamic scum out there that's watching. I got myself a black dog. So President Trump, you talked today about Iran. They're all a bunch of scum and liars. You want to insult the Islamists? Get yourself a good black dog. You can't have my black dog, Jerry. But there you go. To the Islamic scum of the world. We got our studio dog, a black studio dog. Some of you are like, what does that have to do with anything? I'll tell you in a moment. But Jerry, you want to go to your father? You are obsessed with Logan. You definitely have bonded with Logan. You want to go see Logan? Huh? Yeah, that's a yeah. You're a squirmy little thing, aren't you? Oh, look at that. Oh, my word, he's got a get right out of my arms. All right, there you go. Logan, there's your dog. Woo, he didn't pee on me, did he? Oh, man, no, he didn't. Okay, Dolly, what do you think of that? Dolly is so jealous. Come on up here. Say hello, everybody. Say hello, Dolly. Okay, you're still the studio dog number 1, sticking her head up through the desk. She's not so sure about Jerry. She actually doesn't care for Jerry. She's very, very jealous of Jerry. Poor Dolly. It's okay, but you got to get to know your cousin, okay? All right, there you go. Another appearance by Jerry. Joining me now is Sharam and Annie. So we got ourselves a black studio dog. So the Islamic scum, just take note, we got ourselves a black dog on purpose. Now, people are wondering, what does he mean by that? The Muslims don't like black dogs. The Islamists don't like black dogs, do they, Hadian?
They do not. Generally, dogs are not welcomed in any environment because of the idea that they're impure. Mm-hmm. So devout Muslims generally frown from having dogs, especially, like you said, black dogs, except for Muhammad, because Muhammad was special. He had a dog, and he was permitted to do things that nobody else is permitted to do. And so, he always gets special privilege. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not going after the average Muslim, the beer drinking, pork eating Muslim. I'm talking about the Islamic scum of Iran. Yes. So there you go. Yes. And yes. What got us on that is President Trump today. Here is President Trump. Many of you heard it by now, but here's President Trump. We can do the old "I told you so," can't we, Annie? Yeah, I knew you were going to start laughing. I know. Okay, here we go.
Do you have any questions?
Mr. President, is the ceasefire over? Is the ceasefire done? Is the MOU dead?
It's a very interesting question. To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. I'll speak to our negotiators. They want to negotiate. They're good people. Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. But they have to come back to me. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a waste of time dealing with them. They're liars. We make a deal. And if I make a deal with him, we have a deal. And he goes out, he talks. We make a deal. Everyone's agreed. No nuclear weapon. We make a deal. They go outside, talk to the press. They say, we never even talked about it. There's something wrong with them. They're cuckoo. As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
And then he was asked by a reporter, Mr. Trump, like a month ago, you had all these nice things to say about him. And now you don't. Here we go. Here's that clip. Here we go.
Mr. President, Tyler Pager with the New York Times. Last month, you said Iranian leaders were very rational people, nice people to deal with, strong people, smart people. Today, you said they were scum, sick people, and being led by sick people. What changed, and do you think they're...
I got to know them. So I've said that about a lot. Now, when you say rational, I think they're much more rational than level 1, level 2. Level 1 is gone. Level 2 is gone. This is level 3.
Okay, he got to know him. You know what? He could have called us up. Contain yourself there, Annie. I said on radio today, he could have just called us up, and I would have gotten you guys on the phone, and he wouldn't have to gotten to know them, because it's not them, it's their ideology, it's their worldview. So he didn't need to get to know them. All he needs to know is about Islam. Go read the Hamas charter, for Pete's sake. It says no matter how many treaties we sign or talks we go to and deals, it doesn't matter. We want the eradication of Israel. So Annie, this idea, he seems to think he can charm these people into deals. He doesn't understand Islam, does he?
I don't believe he doesn't understand Islam.
You think he does understand Islam?
Yes, I do. And I refer back to 2016 Trump that we got to know.
That's
we have
true.
Islam
We played
problem.
those clips before. Yeah.
But I do also believe that he has been sold the narrative of a radical versus moderate Islam. The phrasing of, they're more rational and they're, more understanding. It's the concept that he actually thought he's dealing with the moderate Muslims of Iran rather than the radical Muslims of Iran. I think that's where his disconnect is. But even with that, he literally just said it. This is an Islam issue with Trump. He says that about a lot of people. It's just Trump's personality. I don't believe for a second he got to know them. I don't. I believe that he got ahead of himself, making announcements that came back to chase him or hunt him. He does that to everybody. He jumps the gun. He thinks he's got a deal. He start putting posts out. He start doing interviews. And the lashing out like he did this morning comes not from the lack of agreement, but from the disappointment. He lies. I said it. I said it. He calls them liars, which is accurate. But Trump is a liar himself. He is a liar. He lied about the deal. He literally just said, we make a deal with no agreement. That never happened. The memorandum of understanding was never signed. It was a digital sign before they got to actually sit down with authorities from Iran to sign it. It got canceled. So no, President Trump, you lied ahead of this deal, just like you have lied repeatedly about your 20-point deal with Hamas. Just like you have lied constantly about Lebanese government negotiations with Israel, when Lebanese government isn't the problem, Hezbollah is them. These are lies. So some of his lies are now being exposed. So he's lashing out.
Trump, weigh in here, please.
Well, I agree with Annie that I think certainly on the part of this compartmentalization of Islam. I mean, we've seen this routinely from the White House again and again and again. They use the term radical Islam, and they've viewed this regime as somehow radical outside of the norm of Islam. Like you talked about with the dog, where you have non-practicing Muslims, and then you have what the Hadith declares, according to the teachings of Muhammad, is that this black dog is basically the devil. So if you have a black dog, you have a devil in your house. This is the mentality of Islam. This is not just radicalism. But I agree that also with Annie that he has egg on his face, whether he intentionally lied or his ego can't pull himself back to say, look, we made a mistake. we miscalculated, we misjudged, we didn't listen, because he is as good as his advisors. And when he continues to extol the likes of Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff and JD Vance, if this is his negotiating team, I mean, JD Vance looked like a chump when they were in Doha, when Al Thani from Qatar came in, didn't give him the time of day. The regime came in and ignored him. He looked like somebody that is way out of his league. And they needed to, I think they need to let Rubio do more of the negotiations. But as long as Witkoff and Kushner are negotiating, and as long as they are so deeply compromised by their financial connections to the Qataris, the Emiratis, the Saudis, the Bahrainis, this is the kind of advice he's going to get. They're going to continue to push for, look, there's a deal to be had. And now he finally gets to the point, as you said, that we've all been saying, yes, Mr. President, they are scum. They are liars. They are cuckoo. But they're not cuckoo in the sense of they're just crazy. They're fundamentalists. They're Islamic cuckoos. They're Islamic fundamentalists, because that's what Islam does to someone's brain. It demonically makes you go cuckoo, and you lose all sense of rationality and humanity, and you start becoming vile and disgusting and sick and perverted. That's what Islam does, Mr. President. And so why are we surprised? But here's the thing. The day is not up yet. The day is not up yet, because according to Iran International, they're reporting that now there are some in the administration that are saying, no, we want to calm down. They're trying to, I think, backtrack from Trump's words in the sense of this is over. They're already trying to backtrack. No, it's not over. It's not over. It was over, as Annie just said. It was over before they ever signed. It was never signed. It was over before it started, because it's ridiculous. At what point are they going to just say we have to take the lump and admit we miscalculated? By the way, where do they retaliate, Brandon? They retaliated in Bandar Abbas. They retaliated in the port. That's where they should have started. I said from the beginning of February 28th, they should have attacked in the south. They should have taken over Bandar Abbas. Then they would have gotten Karg Island. They would have had maybe some level of ability to be able to control. But they're doing these, for show. They want to be able to brag about all of the targets they hit, but they didn't target the Strait of Hormuz, where anybody could have said this is their one and only negotiating tool, as far as the Iranians I'm talking about.
Well, very interesting. Let's go to a clip about Air Force One, because I talked about it on the radio today, and I said something's not adding up about this, taking the old Air Force One. They act like they're putting that thing in mothballs. And I said on the air the other day, don't believe it. You'll see that Air Force One again. And pretty sure there it was this morning. I saw it this morning sitting there in Turkey for President Trump to get on. And now we're being told that Air Force One is the new Air Force One is going to go to the UK. It's now touched down in the UK. And we're told he's just going to let the troops look at it. I'm not buying it. And apparently a lot of the press isn't buying it, because later during the show, after I said I'm not buying it, we started finding clips live on the air where some of the press isn't buying it. Something's up with that plane. I don't know what, but we're not getting the truth about that plane. Listen to this.
Thank you, President Trump. Stephen Nelson from the New York Post. I'd like you to address speculation that you're leaving Ankara not in the new Air Force One because of security concerns involving Iran. You've spoken today twice about them possibly assassinating you and possibly being successful. Did that concern have something to do with it?
Well, I speak about it a lot because, the life of a president is very dangerous. It's 5.2%. You know what a race car driver is? 1/10 of 1%. A bull rider, that looks pretty dangerous to me. It's 1/10 of 1%. No, it's 5.2% is you don't make it. You should have told me, you're an excellent reporter. You should have told me that years ago. Maybe I wouldn't have run. It's a very dangerous profession. No, I'm number one on the kill list for Iran. They're lovely people. I'm number one. So I don't know. I can't tell you that, but I don't really care because I'm doing my job and I'm doing it, I hope, better than anybody's ever done it because we have a country that's hot and really, really successful. But I mention it only because it's on the list. I mean, it came out. There was another list came out yesterday, and I'm number one on. I like being number one on TikTok better, but I'm number one on the list for killing.
Well, there you go. And so he put out a social
So we
media.
dodged the question completely,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
He did dodge the question. He put out a social media post saying that we're sending it over to the UK to let some of the troops get a great look at it. Okay, wait a minute now. When was the last time you knew a president sending an Air Force One off somewhere for the troops to get a look at it? It's a highly classified plane, number one. Exactly. So you're not going to be rolling through the plane. I read this afternoon that it made it to the UK and crowds were looking at it from outside. Okay, something's not adding up here, okay? So I'm thinking Logan's right when he said during the radio show that new plane doesn't have all the maneuverability or anti-missile things. It doesn't have all the attack devices on it, the new plane that probably the old one has. So they brought in, I mean, that's what we're speculating here. But so they brought in the old plane. So right there, that I think tells you they're worried about something. Well, I mean, what are your thoughts, Annie?
I was not going to publish this or publicize this until next Monday, but let me break my breaking news for Monday on your show tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But to your audience, still go read my Substack Monday, to be fair. So the Quds forces, which 99.9999% of Americans have no idea what I just said.
Cud forces. What she said.
Is that how we say it?
Well, we do in America, Cud forces. Just wanted to make
those forces.
But I didn't know. I want the audience to make sure they picked up on your beautiful accent, what you said, because it got lost.
Oh, I'm sorry. Quds is not an accent. What you do is an accent. But that's besides the point. Quds forces that you butcher into Quds forces, I think, have just established their newest unit. Mm-hmm. The name of the unit in their language is Mukhtar. That word by itself, for those who know what it means, like shivers run down your spine. In Arabic, it means the chosen one. In Farsi, it means the one in charge who answers to no one. Unlimited power. They just became active. They weren't put together yesterday, but yesterday, their activation code was released. This unit is specifically activated now after years of training for one purpose and one purpose only. And that is to assassinate the latest list of IRGC. And with all due respect, President Trump, actually you're number two. Number one is Bibi on that list. You're number two. There are 12 names on that list that Mukhtar unit is going to assassinate. That's why today everybody's panicking.
Well, here he said, to our brave men and women of the military, we're sending the brand new and truly spectacular Air Force One to Mildenhall Air Force Base in the UK to give them a chance to tour the aircraft. Yeah, I guess I'd be shocked if they're letting people just walk through this new aircraft. But the reports I saw is people were watching it on the ground. But maybe that's before they got a chance to go on board. But I'd be really shocked if they're just rolling through the new Air Force One. We also got a report from a guy on social media saying that one press reporter on Air Force One, and they were on the old Air Force One that we're used to seeing, that they were advised to keep our window shades closed. And then they lost contact with them as they don't have a Wi-Fi signal. They're not given Wi-Fi access aboard Air Force One for security reasons, apparently. So why are you closing the shades? That sounds very similar to what we heard related to that Air Force One when President George W. Bush flew into Iraq on Thanksgiving Day so many years ago. So why are they keeping the shades closed as they get ready to take off? It was getting on toward dark, but not quite. So it's like it looks like it's pretty visible. Why do we care about the shades being open if it's still bright enough to see the plane? I don't know. Maybe by the time they taxied out and took off, it was dark. I don't know. But there's still a lot of questions circling and running on this one. But a lot of people were wondering, why are you taking this plane from Qatar? And now maybe it's an issue of it doesn't have what we need on it. And if you say that, you're tipping off the enemy. But number two, you're also basically saying, I shouldn't have been flying on this thing as president, commander in chief. And so he can't really say, it doesn't have what we need on it. I shouldn't really be on it, but I want to be on it anyway. But now I can't be on it. The Secret Service is moving me back to the old Air Force One. He ought to, he doesn't want to tip the hand on what's not on that plane to the enemies. But at the same time, I don't think he's going to be prone to saying they forced me onto the old plane and off my new plane. Do you, Shahram?
No, I doubt that he would ever acknowledge or admit that's exactly what the Secret Service did. And I agree with you. I think that's exactly what the Secret Service did. I think that, first of all, where is he? He's in Turkey. Turkey is not a safe nation in the sense of there are many, many Iranian elements inside of Turkey. So it is no stretch of the imagination that there would have been some access to that plane as it's taking off.
And by the way, we did get footage of it taking off, so it was clearly visible. But it does look like the shades are closed, doesn't it? For the most part, I think I see one or two open, maybe two or three open, but who knows what, we're just passing on the reports. But that's clear enough to see that thing taken off. It's not completely dark yet.
But again, Brandon, let's go back to the beginning of this, right? As you said, the beginning of this is who in their right mind thought this was the right idea? Who in their right mind thought that it would bode well for the United States of America and the President of the United States to take a plane? It's one thing to take the plane. And it's one thing to say, when I get out of office, they gifted me a plane and I'm going to use it for Trump Inc., when I get out of office. It's another thing to roll that plane into and as Air Force One when it may or may not, as you said, have the capabilities. More than likely, it doesn't have all the capabilities because some of those capabilities have to be built into the plane as it's being built. And you're retrofitting something, right? I mean, think about any construction project, right? The difference between retrofitting and being able to add things as you're building. Big difference. You have a lot more ability to add things as you're building. And so this was a terrible idea, terrible optics. And now potentially, and I agree, this is not about the troops. There's no way. This is about letting the troops view Air Force One. This is about a security issue. This is the fact that they're now realizing, as Annie said, that there's a concentrated effort by the regime. And there has been, and there continues to be a concentrated effort by the regime to assassinate the President of the United States. And if nothing else, let's go back to this whole situation. If nothing else, would that not then dictate that we're not talking, there's no deals, there's no negotiations, because every bit of this leader, Reza Pahlavi came out in a statement yesterday, today, and there was a word that he used that I think in Farsi means that it is decaying. We use this term in Farsi that means puside. It means that from within, it is completely decayed. This regime in Iran, for people to understand, is completely decayed. There is no good in it. There is nothing redeemable about it. And they will continue to say death to America, death to Israel, kill Trump, and kill anybody else, including Bibi, as Annie said, until they are decapitated. There's only one way, and you have to remove them completely. I go back to the story of Saul. And Brandon, I said to you a couple of weeks ago when Trump talked about how without him there'd be no Israel. And I said, this is a Saul moment where if God's hand was on Trump in his first term, if truly God allowed Trump to be in office, and there was some element of that allowance of his will, I think that now he is losing that favor. I think that hand is being removed from him. Because why? Because what did Saul do? He didn't clean house. He didn't get rid of what God said to get rid of. And what is Trump doing now? He's doing the same thing. He's not getting rid of what needs to be getting rid of in regards to the timing of this situation with Iran, how it affects Bible prophecy. And now he's in Turkey, walking hand in hand. You see that video of him walking with Erdogan as he's greeting all the soldiers of the Turkish army and giving them flowers. And I thought they were going to hug each other and start kissing. What is going on with this man? And Michelle Bachmann, by the way, Brandon, came out in a video and said something really interesting as discernment that many of us had sensed. That she said the same thing that affirmed what I had been sensing kind of in my spirit, which is that on his China trip, something has dramatically changed about Trump since he's got back.
Well, yeah, and I've heard other people say that. And what do you think it is? What do you think was said to him?
Wow. We can speculate, but I think it's one of two things, right? Either massive threats or massive promises in regards to what, can be financial deals, or it could be a combination of both. There could be a combination of what China said they're going to do, and maybe that they have underestimated China. They've underestimated, and even Trump talks about China a lot, I know, but they've underestimated China. They've underestimated what China is doing. You talked about it with Todd Bensman in your last show, and China's ability. Maybe it was a threat. Maybe China said, if you don't back off, we are going to activate our hundreds of thousands of cells within America. I don't know.
And of course, you heard me interviewing Todd tonight, and we talked about, as I did my commentary in a Worldview Report tonight, what happens if this is Wired Magazine? Just came out today by Andy Greenberg. What happens if China hacks the U.S. water supply? I went to a secret war game to find out. And they ran the war game because this isn't conspiracy. Through something known as Volt Typhoon, that came out. Remember us talking about that in 2023? And the NSA came out and CISA and all announced the discovery of this Volt Typhoon, a group of hackers working in service of the Chinese military. They broke into networks of critical infrastructure facilities across the continental United States, hitting targets related to everything from manufacturing to telecommunications to the electric grid. And what they were running was a scenario on them hitting 5,000 water utility centers in the United States in one day. And now the coolant systems for HVAC and hospitals has failed. People are being taken out of hospitals because they can't keep them cool if they hit them in the summer, the heat of July or August. It goes into data centers that are overheating because they can't stay cool. It goes into the cloud systems going down, communications going down. It talked about, where are they going to focus their resources and money? On the military and keeping up the critical infrastructure for the military bases in the U.S., or are they going to focus on saving the most American lives? Folks, this is why we have a Generac, okay? This is why we spent the money on a Generac to stay up and broadcasting, but because also we realize the threats. And more Americans are buying these Generacs. And if water goes down, you're not going to be able to do a lot of things. I ran into a guy the other day. He was living in an area where the power went out. I'd never heard of such thing, but he couldn't flush his toilets because he has electric toilets. Where you would normally take the water, maybe get a 10-gallon bucket from a pond or a lake in the area and fill it up and bring some back to the house. And you put the water in the back of the toilet and fill it up and you can flush the toilet like you always do. He couldn't do that because he had electric toilets and it wouldn't matter. And I'm like, why on earth would you have an electric toilet anyway? But I'm telling you, the American people are not ready for the power grid and water to go down and the number of people that would die. Now, I think a lot of the people in this audience would make it because they have bought survival food, freeze-dried food, and so many things from us like crazy. I think a lot of, and by the way, we have big containers you can buy on our website at worldviewstore.com for that very purpose. If you have to walk to a pond or a lake or a stream to get water to be able to use it to wash your dishes or use it to wash clothes or use it to to put in the back of the toilet. Of course, obviously, you're going to want to be careful about what you drink and the tablets you can buy to purify that water. But we have those big containers you can buy that collapse down and easily stored away. We have all this stuff at Worldview Store. But I think a lot of our people would make it because they're prepared. The average American is not ready. And isn't it interesting that you think, and I heard other people say that after his visit in China, he seemed to change. Annie, what do you make of that?
It's interesting. I have heard that too, but then I don't know if it's change or like he hasn't changed. It's just his methods seem to be more radical since everybody.
Do you think
loves
he's had
to
too
use
many
that
COVID
word.
shots? You know, we've seen the peer-reviewed study from Dr. Peter
McCullough.
Thank you, McCullough, from Nick Holscher, from Dr. James Thorpe, showing that too many people get too many of these shots, they start to have a real problem with cognitive abilities. Has he had too many COVID shots?
Or yes, or I have still, I can't prove it, but I still think when he was going through the whole, cinematic marketing of the COVID, are we sure it was even a COVID shot that he took? Are we sure they did not inject him with something else? Was it not some sort of injection that became a chip that would allow others to control his behavior, his decision making? I don't know.
I don't know, but I'll go back to
all of that seem.
I'll go back to the COVID shot. Dr. Bashima Williams is coming on again Thursday night, and we got to talking about this. I can't remember the name of it, but this side effect that people have who have had COVID. And I'm talking about the shot, but have had COVID, and they have dizziness. They wake up feeling like they're going to pass out. They just really, some equilibrium problems. I talked to her today and she said, I'm dealing with more and more patients that have this. And one of the symptoms is they have swollen ankles. Well, what have we seen on President Trump? These really big swollen ankles. So I'm going to ask Dr. Bashima about that more on Thursday night. But something has definitely changed. He seemed in Turkey today. It didn't seem the way he did yesterday. Yesterday, he seemed very happy, jovial. Today, he seems really ticked off. I mean, whether it's going after Benjamin, going after Iran, which I could care less if he goes after those guys, but going after, is it Greece? Spain? I mean, he was in a raw mood. Maybe he's not getting enough sleep. I mean, he took off to go out of the country after the fight on the White House lawn, not too long ago. And then the other night he took off at like 9 o'clock DC time. It was 9 o'clock DC time. He took off for Turkey. The man maybe doesn't get enough sleep. I don't know. But he woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning and was kind of mad at everybody. But here he is making, again, some of these statements. You're like, what? Here we go.
The prime ministers, you know what? They wouldn't be in Israel right now. You know that? They wouldn't be. It would have been blown to pieces by Iran. If you had a weak prime minister, you wouldn't have, and if you had a different president, I guarantee there wouldn't be an Israel. Israel wouldn't exist today if you didn't have me as president.
Okay, Mr. President, you need to read the book of Daniel. You need to read the book of Revelation. There's going to be an Israel long after the United States has passed from the world stage, okay? Because the Bible tells us there's going to be the nation of Israel, and I believe God's word. So he doesn't know the Bible. And to sit there and say there'd be no Israel if it wasn't for me, he clearly does. Do you know what God must be thinking when he says things like that? It reminds me of Psalm chapter 2, where the kings of the earth are conspiring. You want to believe in conspiracy theories? They're real. They're conspiring in Psalm 2, the kings of the earth, against God. And they're trying to find a way to stop him from winning and establishing his millennial kingdom. And God laughs at them. I have to think that God is grieved, but at some level must also scoff to think you, Trump, think that Israel wouldn't exist without you? Really? Sharam?
Brandon, you're absolutely right. Before you said Psalm 2, I was thinking Psalm 2. We were thinking of like, the Lord scoffs. The Lord is grieved and it is grieving for our nation. There's going to be consequences for our nation when our leader speaks this way, puts himself in the place of God, whether he knows it or not. But Brandon, the Lord also scoffs at their plans. There is a derision of their plans. There is a division of their plans will fail because of the fact that there is not the blessing. Again, I go back to the example of Saul. When you disobey your calling, your mandate, however God could have used Donald Trump, both in this first term and the second term, now you're in a different place. And that's the same thing that is in my heart, is that, Mr. President, since the rebirth of Israel in 1948, how many times have they been outnumbered by their enemies? How many times should they have lost? Whether it was the battle for independence in 1948, whether it was the Six-Day War in 67 or 1970 through the Yom Kippur, the Oslo Accords after that, and all the intifadas that gone through, God has kept his hand on this nation, not because they deserve it, but because of his word. And so, and again, my question is, Brandon, where are all these spiritual advisors? Where is Paula White? Where is Franklin Graham? Where is Jensen Franklin? Where are all these spiritual advisors that love to go to the White House and get photo ops, but none of them have been able to sit down with the president and say, Mr. President, please don't say this. Please don't say these remarks. It's a dangerous place to be in. And Brandon, I think that, and it could be that, at 80 years old, he's not, he thinks he can go off for 4 hours of sleep. Maybe it is catching up to him, but there is something spiritually. When we talk about a change, I think that from the perspective as Christians, we look at it from a spiritual change. His ego, his personality is still there, but something fundamentally has changed. And again, I go back to, when you have horrible counsel, when you have corrupt counsel, Bible says there is safety in a multitude of counsel that is wise and godly. When you have a multitude of crappy counsel, of horrible compromised counsel, then you make really bad decisions. And then his ego doesn't allow him to own up to it and say, yeah, we miscalculated in Iran. And oh, by the way, we're about to miscalculate horribly by giving Turkey at least 6 to start out F-35 5th-gen stealth fighters that is going to completely change the Middle East. And remember, Mark Rutte, Brandon, at the White House a few weeks ago, acknowledged something that we had already known, but he said it publicly, that Turkey actually has one of the largest militaries in the world. And this is the same nation that is talking about a ground invasion of Israel and is mentioned 4 times in the 38th chapter of the book of Ezekiel and Bible prophecy as coming against Israel. So, Mr. President, you had nothing to do with preserving Israel. God has preserved Israel, and please stop. That's all I can pray for.
And here I so agree, Trump. Thank you. And here he is.
Can I add a sentence?
Yeah.
Can I but President Trump, you did certainly have a lot to do with preserving the regime in Iran. If President Trump wasn't in office, Israel would have finished them on laws.
Yes.
That's worth inserting.
Wow, that is a good point.
Agreed, 100%.
If President Trump wasn't pulling the leash on Israel, they would have finished off Iran.
Last year.
Here's Trump again.
But there are a couple I don't like much. But I like Erdogan. I'll tell you, I like President Erdogan. He rolled out the red carpet. He's terrific. He could have gone into the war. A lot of people saying, like with Bibi, I like Bibi. I think Bibi was a terrific wartime prime minister. But Bibi said rough things yesterday about Turkey and Erdogan. And I said, I spoke to him. I said, he could have gone into the war because he doesn't like Israel much. And he doesn't like Bibi much. And he didn't go because of me. And this is a military power. millions of soldiers. Turkey is very strong. They have a lot of our best equipment. They're trying to get the F-35s. But he didn't go in. He wanted it. He would go in. If it weren't for me, he would have gone in. And he would have been on the other side. But there are a couple.
Wow. So when he says he would have, when he says he would have been on the other side, meaning he would have pushed all the way through Israel.
Yes, but what he fails to say is Erdogan is missing one piece of the puzzle, not to just go for Israel, but also help his own personal ally to come for us, which is Russia. And that very last missing piece of the puzzle is the F-35. Not just the F-35 jet, but the F-35 program that Erdogan is about to be welcomed back into. He was kicked out of it, or Turkey was kicked out of it in 2019. Without anything changing, back in 2019 and 2020, everyone in government, Trump administration, were screaming. I'm trying to remember the senator who literally said, and the exact phrase was, S-400 and F-35 cannot coexist next to each other in Turkey. That's just about to happen because Turkey still have their Russian S-400, and we're about to give them F-35 and the technology behind it. So President Trump isn't, again, for anyone on your audience, new people who might be like, who cares about Israel? What he's doing isn't just about to hit Israel. Russia is about to get their hands to our most advanced technology that can justify their system to be able to harm our man and woman in Middle East. How's that for America first? Another insert.
So as we close tonight, how does this end? You go first, Shram. Does this drag on like this until they rope-a-dope him and till he's out of office, or what?
Well, I think that this drags on certainly to the midterms. And then depending on what happens, I mean, right now, given the, in my opinion, apathy within the Republican Party, there's not a lot of excitement. You have the Democrat socialists completely taking over the Democrat Party. They have won, massive upsets against incumbents. I think this goes the way of, if he loses the House, he's impeached. The Senate is so tenuous because Thune is, he's not supportive of the Trump agenda. And I think they rope-a-dope it. I think to the demise of the Iranian people. Again, there's a couple of things he can do to right the ship. Number one, do what he did today. The MOU is over. The deal is over. We're not making a deal. If he could go to that route, if he could just make that clear, that changes the narrative. I read an article in the New York, in the Wall Street Journal, some guy that was bashing, saying, oh, well, look, they had millions of people out in the streets of Iran for Khamenei's funeral. You see, America lied about the fact that there's not a lot of support for regime change. That's nonsense. We've all acknowledged that, yes, 8 to 10% of the population are these fanatic fundamentalists who support the regime. They're not even from the regime. Khamenei is going to be buried in Iraq because they're Arabs. They're not even Iranians. But number one, go where he went today. Yeah, they're scum. Stick with that. They're scum. There's no deals. They're nutsos. They're cuckoos, whatever word he wants to use. They're fanatics. We're not making a deal. We're going to go forward, as Annie just said. Get off of Israel's back, Mr. President. Unleash them. Let them do what they need to do. This would have been over. They know what they're doing. You don't. And if they do that, that's good. If he recognizes Reza Pahlavi, that would be a turning point. But they'll rope-a-dope this until he's out of office, absolutely. And that could come sooner, whether from impeachment or, God forbid, from assassination, if it's going the way it is. So there's no negotiation. There's no deal. There's nothing. It won't exist. It won't happen. And also with Turkey, as Annie mentioned, that totally plays into Bible prophecy. again, we're seeing the arming of Russia and the arming of Turkey, total players in what the Bible has said is going to happen against Israel.
Annie, closing comment?
I will agree with everything Sharon said. This isn't going to end. There is no ending. But my only concern, or better yet, I use the word fear. My fear is this never-ending action might actually bring the direct judgment to us here in America. America will be facing judgment, especially the more Americans who are going to be so blindsided and be so tunnel visioned that are not willing to hear what is happening and what's at the stake. We're going to face serious judgment way before this whole thing ends.
LiveUpToFreedom.com, LiveUpToFreedom.substack.com. Her new book, Architecture of Jihad, is available at LiveUpToFreedom.com. Shahram, he is at TILministry.com, TILministry.com, and he can be heard each and every, is it every day or every weekend, Shahram?
Weekend.
Every weekend, Saturday and Sunday. What time, guys? 4 Central on Saturday and Sundays? Okay. 4 Central, Saturday and Sundays. Again, his website, TILministry.com. Guys, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Brandon.
And they'll be back. And in fact, both of those folks are going to be two of the keynote speakers, along with my next guest, Patrick Wood, at the national conference coming up. It'll be here before you know it, October 23rd, 24th at the Waukesha Expo Center. Over 700 seats now spoken for. It is free, but you must have a ticket. You can do that at worldviewtube.com/events, worldviewtube.com/events. We have a big lineup this year. That's two of the guests you just saw are two of the speakers. Patrick Wood will be up next. He's one of them, along with Erwin Lutzer and many other people. All the details, worldviewtube.com/events. Get registered. Tweet, text, email, Facebook, get our True Social. Tell everybody. Let's fill it up. Pack it out. worldviewtube.com/events, the Waukesha Expo Center just outside of Milwaukee. We'll be right back with Patrick Wood right after this short break.
Take a look at the water you just poured. It looks clean. It tastes fine. But what's really in it? Lead, fluoride, arsenic, chlorine, pesticides, PFAS forever chemicals, pharmaceutical residues, and bacteria. Every single day, these toxins flow straight from your tap into your glass, into your family. It's time for Sentry H2O from Worldview Water. Sentry H2O is the ultimate water treatment technology, designed to remove harmful toxins, balance your water's pH, and enrich it with essential minerals like calcium and magnesium, the way nature intended. From commercial scale systems to whole house filtration to crisp, delicious drinking water right at your kitchen sink and shower, Sentry H2O delivers cleaner, healthier water everywhere you need it. No plumber, no tools, no plumbing knowledge required. Perfect for homes, apartments, rentals, RVs, refrigerators, and more. Because everyone deserves access to clean, healthy water. Visit worldviewwater.net. That's worldviewwater.net.
Joining me now is Patrick Wood. Take a look at this headline right here. 100 support man charged with destroying flock license plate readers. Yeah, I know of another guy that did this. I think we interviewed him. I think he sits on the county commission in Missouri. We interviewed him. He did the same thing, I think. This guy is in, I don't know what state he's in. I don't know where he's at. Let's ask Patrick Wood, who joins us now. Patrick, welcome back. Thanks for being with us.
Good to be with you again. And here we are. This guy's from Virginia.
Virginia. All right. Yep. So tell me what you know about it. In fact, I think I have a little clip here. I don't know if this little clip will play. Here we go. Little clip. I don't know. Maybe it won't play. Maybe it will play. Who knows? You never know. You never know with X. Sometimes things will play. Sometimes they won't. The guy can lift off rockets, but not always get the videos to play on X. I don't know. I don't get that.
So I will,
here we go.
Deny the motion as it relates to that.
Our cameras were rolling today as Sovern faced the Suffolk police detectives who say he is responsible for destroying more than a dozen flock license plate reader cameras in North Suffolk over a more than 6-month period last year. Installed in the last decade in the name of safety, officers say they noticed beginning last April
that camera was turned facing towards the wood line, which is not facing towards the road, which is his intent.
But as time progressed, detectives say they found cameras removed entirely, some of them thrown off overpasses onto I-664. Detectives detailed how a traffic camera is what led them to Sovern, who is an engineer in the Air Force. At the end of last September, a warrant was signed issuing a GPS device to track the truck he was driving. And last October, another warrant allowed for a search of his Harborview condo, where detectives say flock camera components were found.
Bolts, washers, there's just a variety of components that go to these devices. And those were found throughout that garage area.
When questioned, one detective says Sovern said the cameras are unconstitutional and a violation of his and others' Fourth Amendment rights. So far, no federal judge has agreed with a similar argument brought before them, with one in Norfolk recently saying the license plate readers can't track the totality of a person's movements. It was revealed today Sovern is facing similar charges out of Chesapeake, where he's due in court next week. Both Sovern and his attorney left the courthouse before 10 on your side could catch up with them. We're not yet sure when he's due in circuit court.
All right, there we go, Patrick. Tell me your take on all this.
Well, what they don't say in that story, he's had at least 100 or 200 supporters that have rallied around him, giving lots of money to him for his legal defense, who agree with him, with his actions. This is civil disobedience. He's going to pay the price. I understand that. I'm not saying that's a good thing to go around destroying the property, but nevertheless, he did it, and people see his point en masse at this point, and especially this is one part of a bigger story. The CEO of Flock Safety Systems, he just said on public air, you can't believe this. He called people like dflock.org, that's the website that exposes where these cameras are across the country. He said, these people are terrorists, the kind of terrorists like Antifa. And this shows you this is an attitude that's over the top, and I don't know how he would talk about this guy, but this is absolutely insane. So the lines have been drawn between activists who want to get rid of these cameras altogether, and the people that are putting them out there. The CEO of Flock Systems, or Safety rather. And they're viewing us as the terrorists.
Mm-hmm. And of course, these flock cameras, I guess, they're claiming that they are catching people, but they're not. But people are being arrested, saying you were on a flock camera. We caught you doing this. And the person was never there. Here's one such example. Watch and listen, please.
We have cameras everywhere in that town. You can't get a breath of fresh air in or out without us knowing.
Chrisana Elzer learned the power of Flock firsthand.
You were in town from 11:52 until 12:09. Exactly. Like I said, nothing gets in or out of the town without us knowing.
When a Colorado police officer showed up at her door holding Flock snapshots of her truck.
And here's when you left at 12:09. That's when you left town.
To get?
No, to stop at Ridge Trail.
Wait a minute.
And take a package. Well, there's no shushing. I don't need to be.
I need to know where this is.
The first thing he pulled out on the body cam is that Flock picture, the clear photograph of your car.
But here's your vehicle in the neighborhood many, many times, apparently casing houses, because you just can't drive through for work or visit other businesses. You can only be casing houses.
It is her. It is 100%. It is locked in. There is zero doubt. I wouldn't have come here unless I was 100% sure. 100%. It is certain. It is on video. You're obviously welcome to go to court.
Chrisana was charged with stealing a package, but it wasn't her. The porch pirate was somebody else.
Multiple times you tried to show him your video evidence. He didn't want to see it.
Even when I called him back, he said, that's not my job.
You looked at a time of a crime. You saw my vehicle entering in the flock.
No, what I did was, I did an investigation.
You called my wife a liar. You said this is back.
I have video evidence. I don't know what you want me to say.
The charges were dropped after Krisanna spent weeks trying to get the police chief to look at her evidence. Time-stamped video from her truck and a neighbor's doorbell camera showing she wasn't at the scene of the crime.
What does it say about where we are that you feel you have to have more cameras than the police have in order to make sure you can prove yourself innocent?
It sounds like it flipped the script to you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent.
Without a flock camera, that detective would not have been at her door. By his own admission, he pulled out the flock picture of her car. Do you want to apologize to Krisanna Elzer for what happened to her?
For the police misusing the tools? I don't think that I have to apologize for him.
He wasn't charged with a crime. He wasn't, other than being reprimanded for his attitude.
Sure. No, but I would tell you that, like, should I apologize for somebody misusing a tool? I don't think so.
Flock Safety Chief Communications Officer Josh Thomas.
Who's watching the watchers in these cases?
Well, the city council. The city owns the data, so city council would have the appropriate responsibility in that case. Our point of view has always been that it is not Flock's job to police the way police do their work.
But didn't the police officer say, Patrick, he was 100% certain? 100%. Did he say that?
He did say that. Yeah, exactly. He was mistaken. Obviously, he couldn't see the other the other side of the case. This this is going to happen more and more in the future, especially with AI. Saying things or concluding things about people.
We have cameras everywhere in that town.
Oops, sorry about that. Yep, keep going.
Yep. Well, I'm just saying AI and things like surveillance cameras and stuff, they're going to be misused. They're going to be misread. And this is one reason people want to get rid of them. And by the way, they say that data belongs to the city. That's a bald-faced lie. That's absolutely a bald-faced lie. This data is not owned by the cities where it's collected. It's spread all over the world at this point. All the other agencies around the country can look at it, and they're selling it also to other firms around, not just law enforcement, but to say that the city has control over that data, that's a bald-faced lie. That's been proven.
Take a look at this headline. Well, let me ask you this before you get that headline. What do people need to do to protect themselves? Are we reaching a point where Americans are going to have to start wearing their own body cameras to document where they've been and keep that on file?
It almost seems that way, doesn't it? If you can't prove your whereabouts, what can you do? I mean,
well, you also have people that get accused, that someone accosted me in the grocery store, or they did this, or they did that. And, some lady accused President Trump, of pushing her into a dressing room somewhere, right, years ago, and he's gotten sued. And so you're almost to the point where you either have to have someone with you at all times, which high-profile people do. They do. Very seldom do high-profile people go anywhere by themselves for that very reason, because it's he said, she said, or he said, he said. But, you're almost reaching a point now where you have to wear a body camera to document not only where you are, but what you were doing and maybe what you were not doing. No, I did not say anything to that person. I did not go up to them. I did not accost them. I did not cuss at them. Whatever it might be you get accused of. And all of a sudden you're like, look, here's my body camera. I had to go out and here's my body camera. I keep it on file. I'm afraid we're reaching that point, particularly for certain people, high profile people.
Exactly. And there's another layer that's being put on top of these flock cameras and other types of license plate readers. And that's a device now that's been added, like I said, to pick up all of the frequencies, like from Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, etc., to mine all that data from passersby and like in the cars. And they're storing this data as well. Now, your Bluetooth devices and your phones, one, maybe you have hearing aids, they broadcast as well. Your Apple Watch, your fitness trackers, etc. All these devices emit frequencies that can be picked up, harvested by these same cameras in real time as your car passes through. So they've figured out a way to collect it, and this is being stamped in the record as well. This is beyond dystopian at this point. So you're absolutely right. When they have the goods on you, you have no chance to prove yourself at this point.
Well, we're living in a crazy world. Look at this headline here, if you would, please. Hamas chooses half technocrats in new Gaza governing body. Have you been studying that, and why would they be choosing technocrats?
Well, this was the plan from the get-go. You might remember when we talked about what was his name, Jared Kushner, getting up at the World Economic Forum and saying openly that they're choosing a committee of technocrats, apolitical technocrats, to run Gaza. That's exactly what he said, in front of the whole auditorium of people at the World Economic Forum. He said it out loud, just in passing, but he said it. I had to go back and read his lips, exactly what he said. So this has been a plan from the get-go to install technocrats in Gaza, period, end of subject.
And what does that mean? I mean, if Hamas is, I think Hamas is doing it as a cover. Oh yeah, we got technocrats running. We're not in charge. We're giving up and we're following the deal. But they're not going to give up any authority. But what's the game being played here by Hamas?
Well, look, I'm sure Hamas still has an axe to grind, but they're on the chopping block at this point. Eventually there will be an enforced peace on Gaza, and when Trump and his CENTCOM forces take over in Gaza, the security wrapper, they're going to move in 20,000 Muslim troops from around the region, all from Islamic countries, and they'll be managed by CENTCOM, not by them, not by their military, but by CENTCOM. So we'll be in charge of Islamic forces in Gaza. Those forces aren't there to do anything other than protect the investment that all these billionaires and zillionaires are going to put into Gaza, like Trump, like Kushner, all these other people who've already there's been money pledged from all over the Mideast, especially like the sovereign wealth funds, to rebuild Gaza. Not rebuild it, that's not the right word. To construct a new Gaza, full of smart cities and surveillance things and digital everything. And is Trump, cryptocurrencies and
is Trump so frustrated with Iran because it's the fly in the ointment? Is it messing up their deal for the Strait, IMEC, and all those things because you and I went through that plan and the IMEC plan and Kushner's plan and Witkoff's plan kept talking about how important IMEC is and the Strait of Hormuz and all of this. So is he angry because it's upsetting the plans that he has? That many of them, by the way, are financial plans, company plans?
Yes, the Strait is not contained yet. That's obvious because Iran just kept shooting missiles or targeting ships. And so initially, Trump said, well, the Strait is secure now, ships can pass through, and they did for a while. But at this point, he's saying, nope, we have to go back and finish the job because we don't have control over the Strait. This was all about the Strait in the first place, in my opinion. We talked about this going back in April even. The war was never about saving the students or saving innocent citizens or getting the nuclear stockpile out of Iran. This was all about the trade corridor that this expressed by the Strait of Hormuz, period. And it's not secure yet. So Trump is going to finish the job. He's doing this, by the way, at odds with Israel, who would like to just clobber Iran and just get rid of them altogether. But Trump has muted the whole thing over the Strait of Hormuz. If Iran would just let go of the Strait, all this would go away. and the trade corridor could be erected, just like they said in the first place. So there, undoubtedly, in my mind, there's two factions warring in Iran. One is the hardliners, the religious zealots, and there's another faction comprised more of not the religious zealots, but the people who want to develop their country economically. This was at stake when we talk about the reintegration of Iran into the global economy. It's not there yet. It's just simply not there yet. But when the shooting stops, if they'll let go of their weapons and put them down, Iran will be reintegrated into the global economy. It has a lot to offer. It's a big country. It's an important country geographically. They have lots of minerals, lots of opportunities for people to come in and build their infrastructure there for them, and those people will make lots of money out of it for sure.
Yeah, well, it's going to get worse because look at this headline: Trump has used taxpayer money to purchase stakes in dozens of companies. Congress is about to make it easier. So we're going toward that, what I've been talking about for a couple decades, communitarianism, big government, big business merging together, corporate fascism, technocracy is part of that. So this is just going to keep getting worse, Trump. This is going to keep getting worse, Patrick.
I've been saying for a long time now that whatever you like about Trump or don't like him, whatever, he's become the technocrat in chief. That's all you can say. He's building deals all over the world that benefit technocracy, not the American people.
Technocracy.news. Patrick Wood, who will also be one of the keynote speakers at our upcoming National Worldview Weekend, October 23, 24. You can see him in person. Tickets are going fast. They're free, but you got to have a ticket. worldviewtube.com/events, worldviewtube.com/events. And Patrick's website, again, is technocracy.news. Patrick, thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, guys, that's our broadcast for tonight. Roll the music. Let's call it a night. Wow, what a program. Packed full, including starting out with Todd Bensman, an exclusive tonight with Todd Bensman. Our first interview with him, the first interview he's ever given since leaving the Trump administration, having been an assistant to border czar Tom Homan. And then, of course, we had Sharam and Annie. We've had Patrick Wood tonight. What a broadcast. If you appreciate what we're doing, we need your support badly. WorldviewFoundation.com, folks. Costs a lot to keep this network going, and you can help us push it all out for free. WorldviewFoundation.com. May God save America. Take care.
Faith, spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House.
And welcome to the broadcast. Glad you are with us. We're going to be joined here in just one moment by Aaron Lavarco, our reporter from Israel, who is in the United States of America. He is in Arizona right now. And he'll be here in our studios, Lord willing, this month of July. Now, before we go to Aaron, and Logan, I hope Aaron can hear me because I want to tell my audience something that's very, very important about a war game that was just carried out. And I think Aaron is going to particularly find it interesting. Historically, America has been a great ally to Israel. It seems as though we may be turning our back on Israel, praising Erdogan, lifting sanctions on Erdogan, serious discussions of giving him F-35 fighter jets while he's talking about conquering Jerusalem and other things, talking about the Jews being a cancer. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And yet today, President Trump, and we'll play the clips, went off on Iran, stating that, they're sickos. And he went on to describe them. Thankfully, he didn't curse, so we can play the clip. But he said they're scum. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? So I went and looked up the word. It means the lowest, most worthless, or morally contemptible people. like the filthy residue or dregs at the bottom of something. I guess like a pond or something, maybe a barrel. You ever have a barrel that on your property? Some of you have property and the barrel sits there and collects rain and gets all kinds of garbage in it and algae and stuff, and it develops this scummy film. Some of you have pools, I would venture to guess. You have to make sure you don't get that, or maybe some of you have a hot tub in your backyard and you get that kind of scum on the side of the hot tubs, right? We've seen it. We know what it means. But I didn't know what it meant as far as an actual insult. So when we looked it up, it's referring to someone, it's like calling someone trash or the worst of the worst. The definition says here, it's not a literal description, but a harsh rhetorical slam. Well, we could have told him that. I would never have gone to work for the Trump administration or any administration for that matter, knowing what I know now. I would have never gone to work for any of these people. Why would I leave the occupation I have to step down? I mean, that would be 2 or 3 stairs down, right? What I'm doing now is so far more important, I think, to the country and the world, but to, spiritual factors. We just launched, as you know, our online training institute yesterday. We've already got several people that have signed up. Praise the Lord. We're going to try to raise up an army of people to be biblical worldview Bible teachers, prophecy teachers. So I would never go to work for an administration. I wouldn't leave what I'm doing. But if they wanted to call and say, hey, we want to talk to you on the phone, or could you come with some of the people on your team and talk to us, I would gladly do that. I did a research project for the George W. Bush administration. I would gladly do some research for this one and inform them if they would listen, but I don't think they would listen. I think they've made their mind up. But I could tell them, Aaron could tell them, Annie could tell them, Sharam could tell them, Usama could tell them. A lot of our experts could tell them everything they need to know about Islam and that you couldn't trust this regime. But President Trump said, hey, I think this is a new regime. I can work with them. Well, we said no. You ever heard of Takia, Mr. President? Well, now he's very upset today. If you've seen the clips, he's very upset. He's not only upset about Iran, he's upset over Benjamin Netanyahu insulting his buddy Erdogan. He's upset with Greece. Is it Greece? Spain. Thank you. Spain. He's upset with Spain. It rains in Spain, mainly on the plains. Now, some of you have no idea what I just did there, do you? Yeah. But the older, wiser audience members know exactly that was a little pop culture there, historical pop culture. You know exactly who said that line and to who. Spain. Now, what President Trump needs to understand is what many of this audience understand. America is not militarily the great nation that it used to be. We've used up a lot of our armaments. Our debt has now surpassed our GDP by more than 100%, first time since World War II, but it was far worse because we had other things going for us then that we don't have going for us now. We are very vulnerable. We have terror cells here. And now we've gone so much cyber, so much digital. And now we're going to go to a digital economy, whereas you could pull dollar bills, they're $5, $10, $20, $100 bills out and have a medium of exchange. Well, they want to get rid of all that and go to digital. Yeah, right at a time when the cyber warfare is really mounting up. I'm not so sure this is a good idea. I really think we need to maintain hard currency, hard assets, because they can't be hacked. And now you have what really is coming to the forefront from Wired magazine. I'm going to talk about this in my Worldview Report commentary tonight. Dr. Peter Vincent Pry, at this very desk in 2019 it was, and it's in my documentary Siege, he said that Russia and China carried out the world's largest military exercise to date, Vostok 18, and we had video footage of it in my documentary Siege. China and Russia. But at this news desk, he said on video, the week before that, China and Russia hacked into our infrastructure. I think it was called Operation Dragonfly, if I remember correctly. And that Russia and China are inside our grid. Maybe we're inside theirs, you know? But Dr. Pry warned us. Gordon Chang has said the next war, World War III, will be fought on American soil. So we've been talking about these things for many years, right? Food, water, being ready, because we're very, very vulnerable. Well, now Wired Magazine has come out on the date of this is July 8th. So that's yesterday. No, that's today. July 8th. You ready, folks? What happens if China hacks the U.S. water supply? I went to a secret war game to find out. This is written by an award-winning writer, Andy Greenberg. The subheadline, burst water mains, evacuated hospitals. In a closed-door simulation, insurers played out their response to a mass disruption by China's Volt Typhoon hackers and found a nightmare scenario. Let me read a little to you. It started out, let me go up at the top. It's around an hour and 10 minutes into the role-playing game. I've been invited to observe